Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today. We hope that you will find this video helpful. Today we're diving into an important topic, biblical principles for sex education. We live in a world that often feels confused about sex. It's everywhere, on TV, in movies, even in our kids' classrooms, but it's often presented in a way that's completely out of touch with God's design. Let's explore how the Bible views sex as a sacred gift within the context of marriage, a gift meant to be shared between a husband and wife, reflecting God's love and design for us. The Bible doesn't shy away from talking about sex. It celebrates it. From the very beginning, in the Garden of Eden, God created man and woman in His image and told them to be fruitful and multiply. He designed sex to be a beautiful and intimate expression of love between a husband and wife. When we understand God's heart behind sex, we begin to see it not as something dirty or taboo, but as a sacred and special gift. It's like a precious treasure chest, filled with intimacy, pleasure, and deep connection. But God, in His wisdom, tells us to wait for the right time and the right person to open it. And that time is within the covenant of marriage. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Kirk, you're talking about waiting until marriage in this day and age? And you know what? You're right, it's not always easy. We live in a world that tells us to give in to our desires, to live in the moment, to explore and experiment. But friends, God's way is always better. He calls us to purity, not because He wants to take away our fun, but because He knows that true joy and fulfillment come from following His plan. Think of it like this. Purity is like laying a strong foundation for a house. If you build your house on a shaky foundation, what happens when the storms come? It crumbles. But if you build your house, your life, your relationships on the solid rock of God's Word, you can weather any storm. You know, when I was younger, like many of you listening, I didn't understand difference between girls and boys. I didn't always understand the importance of boundaries. The Bible is full of examples of boundaries. Think about the 10 Commandments. They're like God's loving guardrails, protecting us from harm and guiding us toward a life of blessing. Setting boundaries means respecting ourselves and respecting others. It means knowing where to draw the line physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It means saying no to temptation and yes to God's best for our lives. Boundaries aren't just for young people. They're important in every relationship, in dating, in marriage, in friendships, even in our families. Healthy boundaries create a safe and loving space for relationships to flourish. Listen up. We live in a culture that likes to redefine everything, don't we? Marriage, family, even the very definition of male and female. But God's design is timeless. He created us male and female, and He created marriage to be a sacred covenant between one man and one woman. When we embrace God's design for sexuality, we're not just following a bunch of outdated rules, we're aligning ourselves with the very source of life and love. God's design is for our good. It's for our protection. It's for our joy. When we honor His design in our lives, we open ourselves up to a level of intimacy, fulfillment, and love that the world can't even begin to offer. You know, one of the most important things I've learned as I am growing up is the power of communication. Being able to talk openly and honestly with my husband about everything, even the tough stuff, has been crucial to our relationship. Now, I know that talking about sex can be awkward, especially with our kids, but trust me, it's so important. We need to create a safe and loving environment where our children feel comfortable coming to us with their questions, their struggles, and their fears. The Bible emphasizes the importance of teaching our children about God's ways, and that includes teaching them about His design for sex and relationships. We need to be the ones shaping their views on sexuality, not the world. Let's be open, honest, and age-appropriate, always pointing our children back to the truth and love found in God's Word. Children, there's nothing more precious than the innocence of a child. As parents, as adults, it's our responsibility to protect that innocence and to keep our kids safe. Sadly, we live in a world where child sexual abuse is a very real threat. That's why it's so important to talk to our children about appropriate and inappropriate touch. We need to teach them the proper names for their body parts and empower them to speak up if anyone, and I mean anyone, makes them feel uncomfortable. This isn't about scaring our kids, it's about equipping them with the knowledge and confidence they need to stay safe. And it's about creating a culture of openness and communication within our families, so our children know they can always come to us no matter what. Let's be vigilant in protecting them and guiding them toward a future filled with hope, healing, and wholeness. Well, class, we've covered a lot of ground today, but I hope this video has given you a solid foundation for understanding the beauty and sacredness of God's design for sex. Remember, it's not about a bunch of rules, it's about experiencing the fullness of God's love and plan for our lives. If you find this video awkward, please know that you're not alone. If you know someone who is abused, make sure you tell your parents, pastor, or your teacher. Don't keep this as a secret. You can save someone's future. Be blessed.